G'day, this is Fraser Coast Stories with George Seymour, and I'm joined today with John Andersen, a local historian. How are you, John?
I'm doing well, George, thank you.
Yeah, good. I've known you for many, many years, John, and I've always known that you're very passionate about history. Why do you think it's important to preserve and celebrate local history?
Well, I mean, thanks to you, this has come to the forefront. I mean, before your time here, history was sort of in the background. But I mean, it's when you have roots that go back to 1863, when all sides of my family arrived virtually in Maryborough on the same day, from England or from Scotland, Denmark and Germany, and been around ever since. We've got eight generations now locally still living here. And we were just talking a moment ago, I think if you go back far enough in Maryborough, everybody that you know is related somewhere along the line. And through the museum, of course, I got more and more involved, having lived here all my life. But it's important because basically, the bay is quite young. I'm 84. Boyle Martin come down here in 1863, coincidentally the same year that Boyle Martin came down was when all our family arrived in Maryborough. And one night I was thinking, I have virtually lived in the bay for half of the period that the bay has existed, from 1863 to now.
Settled it,
And through the family, through my parents and grandparents, and their people before them, there's so many connections locally with the area. And it's only when you get to a certain stage that you start to realise that this is real history. It's part of what made Maryborough and in the latter years Hervey Bay what it is today. And it's changed so much, of course.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. So, like in Maryborough, you can see a lot of the history in the buildings.
Yes.
It's a bit harder in Hervey Bay. Where can you go in Hervey Bay? Like what buildings or old areas can you see that reflect its history?
When you and I spoke initially about the Scarness Rotunda, I mean, virtually there was the railway station, Pyalba, and
so the railway station,
the Memorial Hall,
1896. The Memorial Hall, 19.
But I mean, every soldier that went to war went through those doors, and to see it go, even though it's a wooden building, would have been terrible.
It would be,
And the same with the Memorial Hall, which was our first council building.
Yeah, the Pyalba Shire Council.
Pyalba Shire Council. So I mean, although we haven't got the big brick Brisbane City Hall or Maryborough City Hall, they're still extremely important edifices. And apart from those two, and there are some old homes around, and I don't know about shops, but probably a few older homes. But as far as public buildings, the Rotunda at Scarness joined the other two in being public buildings of quite significance, and luckily now we have them, preserved for the future.
Yeah, and the Scarness Rotunda, that's celebrating its centenary this year.
Exactly, and big celebrations coming up, we hope in August, which you'll hear more about as we get closer to it. So tied in with that will be my family-wise, my grandfather who came down to the bay in the early 1920s and started. And virtually got Scarness moving, and you'll read about that on the sign that the council have decided to put up there to honour the work done by the family over 3 generations at Scarness. So I mean, it's important not for us, but for the future and for people to look back, because the amazing thing is, as I said, I've lived here, worked here all my life, and had a fairly sort of high profile, I suppose, in one way, business-wise and teaching and the rest of it. But when you talk to people, probably 90% of the people don't have any idea of what the bay was like.
Yeah.
And I do numerous talks for all types of functions, and invariably I will say, whether there be 50 there or 150, if you've lived in Hervey Bay from 1970 or before, put your hand up. And the most I've had over many years is 3.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll get no one.
Yeah.
You maybe get one. So like some Nina Wilson or someone like that who passed
Presumably
away.
you'd get more, not at aged care facilities and say schools.
No, but Probus clubs and stuff like that have got younger people in them. The population have still only been here for a very small period of time and have no idea of what the bay was like.
And even some of the stuff that has been here a while, people sort of don't reflect on its history. So, for example, Urangan Pier, people walk on it and go out in the water. They don't really reflect on the fact that there were locomotives on it, steam locomotives going out to cargo ships that then went right around the world. Right through the very heart of Hervey Bay is the old train line. And both of those reflect a really important part of our history as a port.
Well, 1929, the Urangan Pier was the biggest exporter of coal along the east coast of Australia.
Yeah, was that because there was a strike in Wollongong or somewhere?
Down south. But we don't need to tell people that. But, it was the stuff that come in there as far as guano.
From Nauru
from newsprint, coal that went out as an export, and also for the steamships, the sugar, of course, and apart from that, the Navy made good use of it. I vividly remember after the war at Torquay School, when the aircraft carriers and things would be out in Platypus Bay, and the Sea Furies and the little aircraft from them would come around and go along the treetops at Scarness and really liven things up. It was a different world. So.
And the other site that we put on the Heritage Register was Dunn's Enclosure at Point Vernon. That reflects a pretty interesting part of Hervey Bay's history with swimming enclosures, although that one kind of different to the ones in Torquay and Scarness.
Well, when you say swimming enclosures, but I think from memory there was about 7 that I've got photos of over the years, and people for some ungodly reason were dead scared of sharks. And they'd put a few posts up and think the sharks were not going to come through them, but. It was there were swimming enclosures everywhere, but you and I have walked out to that the rock one at Point Vernon, and still the remains of the posts are still
the posts
there.
are there in the rocks.
And stuff like that.
In the end, the real danger was from the electrification, because a couple of boys died, didn't they, in one of them?
From Scarness.
Yeah.
Well, that was my grandfather in the 30s that. When Andersen, no relation, but when Andersen had the power station in Main Street, where Papa Place is, and the Scarness Progress Association, which was very, very active, and they decided to put night swimming around the enclosure. And
that's a good idea. in theory.
And unfortunately, 2 young fellows, one got on the other one's shoulders, and they dived off the end of the pier, and he touched the overhead lines, and both of them were electrocuted.
They were both killed.
And as mayor, you'd be interested to know that
went to the High Court.
There was then a three penny, 3 cent levy put on all the council rates for many years.
The Borough Shire. I'm sure it went to the High Court, maybe, like the litigation.
So
but
we didn't stay there for long.
There was
so
a levy.
These are fascinating stories that, unless we record them, they're gone forever. And it's the same. It's the same as the shark mesh at the enclosure. And I've told the story many times about the uncle George who had the skating rink, and he rang Hornibrook, the big developer in Brisbane, who he'd grabbed all of the cabling that they used to make the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and built the Indooroopilly Road Bridge.
The Walter Taylor.
Walter Taylor Bridge. At Indooroopilly, and George rang. He'd heard after the war that Hornibrook has got this submarine mesh that they used at Sydney Harbour.
Yeah.
And he rang him. He was based at Redcliffe. There was the Hornibrook Highway went across from
the beautiful bridge.
Sandgate to...
they demolished it now, the bridge.
Yeah, there was one originally, and then they built two. And it was 5 cents. And whenever you went to Brisbane, which was a day trip, one of the highlights was to pay the 6-pence toll at Redcliffe to get across to Sandgate. But when George rang Hornibrook up, and he said, "Oh, who are you? What are you?" You know, and George explained he was tied up with the Progress Association and the swimming enclosure, and he heard about the shark mesh, and that was all that was said. And about 3 weeks later, the uncle got a phone call from the station master at Pyalbra, and he said, "Look," he said, "I don't know what it is," he said, "but there's 4 flat top wagons up here." He said, "They've got your name on it. They're full of weird looking bloody steel mesh, and you better come and collect them." Yeah. And that was in the early 1950s. So, you know, that became a big attraction there for many years. Again, it was more a psychological thing. I don't think there was ever a shark within 5 kilometres of the Scarness or any of the enclosure. I think there was one fatality at Urangan in 1922 or something. But you know, it was a psychological thing. Yeah. And the other thing that fascinates me with all of the old photos that you see are the little bathhouses that everyone
there were a lot of them. Yeah.
I mean, you can't imagine. I don't remember a lock on any of them, but no one ever went inside them because they weren't your property. Yeah. I think you paid the council five shillings a year to prove, you know, to have one on the beach. But I mean, they were unique to the bay, a bit like Melbourne.
The Melbourne famous ones. Yeah.
So I mean, little stories like that, unless they're told and recorded.
And you've published a few books about Hervey Bay history. Yeah.
Well, thanks to you. Yeah. And we produced volume 1, which was the pictorial history of Hervey Bay. Yeah. But that was so popular that we then did through council the pictorial history of the whole of the Fraser Coast.
This was Moments in Time. Yeah.
Moments in Time, which is still being sold.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book, beautiful hardcover book.
Yes, and
very well printed.
Again, it's history recorded and it's there forever.
Yeah, and a lot of those photos, I mean, the second one involved pretty much every single museum on the Fraser Coast, from Rowena to Boppel. Yes. But the first one, those were glass images that you basically saved, weren't they?
Yes, a lot. Well, I was ready to go to print with that when a friend of mine that I'd known for many years rang me up and he said, "Look, about 20 years ago, a friend of mine," and I still can't believe this story. He said a friend of mine went out to the tip, and he pulled up, and a car pulled up beside him, and took stuff out of the boot and threw onto the tip, and then left. And when the car had left, this friend of mine's fella that was at the tip thought that looks interesting, and he had a look, and there were all these funny things, and he knew that Bob was interested in photography, knew there was something to do with photography. Yeah. So he grabbed them all, and my friend Bob kept hold of them for about 20 years. Yeah. And age caught up with him, and he said, "Look, are these any good?" Well, I grabbed them straight away, and I digitised them, and to the surprise of my life, it turned out that they were all local glass negatives. Yeah. And it was an absolute treasure trove of the history that...
could you date any of them? Like
1890, 1900. Yeah. And the quality of the photographs, because the glass negatives are, fairly large. Yeah. Even for those days, the quality of the photos is staggering.
Extraordinary, yeah.
So you've seen them all in the book, and I mean, again, things like that don't happen very often. Yeah. So when they do, you're just very, very, very grateful. And the same thing happened with the Central Theatre at Scarness when they were pulling that down, and one of the fellows that was pulling it down, throwing it all on the tip, he came across a box of the original glass slides, advertising slides, which he kept.
Yeah. And some of them were political ones.
They
Yeah,
were,
yeah.
I think you've certainly
Yeah,
got a
those
copy
are the
of
ones
them.
I was most interested in. Yeah.
I mean, but it's all history that's now there forever, and particularly these days with computers and digitisation. Once it's digitised, it's there forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think we can pat ourselves on the back and say, you know, at least we've done a little tiny bit.
Yeah.
Because there's the old story about saying, you know, when someone dies, the library burns down, and you just, I know when my dad died, you think the information he had as a blacksmith at Walker's in the early days, then at Commonwealth Steel at Newcastle during the war, the information that he had that was lost now, and what he could do with metal that they wouldn't have a clue with now. And then you look at England, say, with cathedrals and stone cathedrals, and you think, how on earth would they do that today?
Yeah.
You know, but it's all history, and it's just amazing that we've got the ability and the capability of preserving it for the future.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. And you've done an enormous job for that Hervey Bay. So yeah, thank you on behalf of the community for helping to preserve our history, to celebrate it, and to promote it and help people to access it. I know you visit a lot of schools and different groups, you're publishing stuff, you're organizing events, and it's, really appreciated, John.
Thanks, George.